You are now about to begin Section 5 of the University of Michigan International Center OPT Online Certification course. In this section, we will discuss what your options may be after your initial 12 months of OPT expires. In this section, you will learn the options you may have to remain in the United States beyond your first 12 months of OPT. You will also learn what a 17-month STEM extension is and who may be eligible. Finally, you will learn what a cap gap is and who qualifies for this particular extension. Remember this timeline from Section 2? In Section 2, we discussed the OPT application period and the OPT authorization period. Next, we are going to focus on the section shaded in green and take a look at what happens at the end of your initial 12 months of OPT. Once again, when your OPT expires, you have a 60-day grace period. During this grace period, you have 4 options. Your first option is to leave the United States before the 60-day grace period ends. Your second option is to return to school and start another degree. If you choose to do this in the United States, you must consult with an International Center advisor about what we should do with your immigration record. If you choose to come back to the University of Michigan for another degree, the longest your OPT can be valid is the start date of your new I-20 for your new degree program. If you choose to return to school for another degree at a different university in the United States, your OPT will automatically expire on the date we set up your SEVIS transfer. There are no exceptions to either of these cases. Your third option is to apply for a change of immigration status before your OPT expires. For example, your current employer may choose to apply and sponsor you for an H1B visa. Your fourth and final option is to apply for a 17-month STEM extension if you are eligible. We will not discuss the application process for a STEM extension in this course, but we will provide information on what this extension is, as well as who is eligible. We will also provide information about what a cap gap is and who is eligible. To find out more information about a 17-month STEM extension or a cap gap, please refer to other International Center online courses. First, we will discuss the 17-month STEM extension. The STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. The degrees included in the eligibility for a STEM extension are defined by the U.S. Immigration Service. Therefore, not all University of Michigan degrees are included. Please refer to the following website to find out if your degree is eligible for a STEM extension. In order to learn if the degree you have received from the University of Michigan is eligible for a STEM extension, you must look on page 3 of your I-20. At the top of page 3 of your I-20, you will find a 6-digit code that represents the degree you received at the University of Michigan. Once you have found that code, go to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement website and look for the code on that list. If you find your code on that list, you have met one of the eligibility requirements for the STEM extension. If your code is not on that list, unfortunately, you are not eligible for a STEM extension. For a STEM extension, you may be approved for up to 17 more months of optional practical training. This means your total of OPT could be as long as 29 months. In order to be eligible for a STEM extension, the following 5 things must be true. First, you must be in F1 status on OPT at the time of application. Second, your OPT must be based on a STEM-defined degree. Third, you must be working in a job related to your degree. Fourth, you must be working for an E-Verify employer. By E-Verify employer, we mean an employer that participates in a database system operated by the Department of Homeland Security in partnership with the Social Security Administration. It allows participating employers to electronically verify the employment eligibility of newly hired employees. This system is currently voluntary. If you want additional information, please visit www.dhs.gov/e-verify. If your employer participates in the E-Verify system, they will have a number that they must give you in order for you to apply for the STEM extension. Finally, to be eligible for a STEM extension, you cannot have been approved for any previous STEM extensions at any degree level. Therefore, if you know you will be returning to a United States university to complete another degree at a higher level, you may choose to wait to apply for this STEM extension after that degree. If you use the STEM extension for your current degree, you will not be eligible for any more STEM extensions at other degree levels. Next, we will discuss a Cap Gap extension. This is the gap between when your OPT expires and your H1B has been approved to begin. There is a cap on the number of H1Bs that the government will approve for any jobs in industry. The cap is at 65,000 each year. There are an additional 20,000 for anyone who earns a master's or a PhD in the United States. This cap does not apply to academic jobs such as postdocs or faculty positions. Those positions can be approved for H1Bs at any time during the year. For any corporate or industry job, H1Bs can only be approved to begin October 1st or later of each year. An application for an H1B in industry can be submitted no more than 6 months prior to the October 1st start date. This means that the earliest an employer can apply for an H1B in an industry job is April 1st. These date restrictions may cause a gap in employment authorization for students on OPT. For example, if your OPT expires on June 30th and your H1B begins on October 1st of the same year, you do not have work authorization for July, August, or September. This is where the Cap Gap can be approved with a request through the International Center. To be eligible for an H1B Cap Gap extension, your H1B application must be filed by your employer before the expiration date of your OPT. Also, your OPT expiration date must be between April 1st and October 1st. Those people on OPT who are not eligible for a Cap Gap extension are those who have an OPT end date between October 1st and March 31st, those who have a consular processed H1B. By consular processed, we mean that your employer has not filed for a change of immigration status while inside the United States. You are required to leave the United States, apply for the H1B visa stamp, and then return to the United States in H1B status. Finally, if your H1B application was filed by your employer during the grace period after your OPT expires, you are not eligible for a Cap Gap. You may remain inside the United States, but you have no work authorization until the H1B change of status has been approved. Since H1B applications are sponsored by your employer, all your questions about the H1B process, as well as your status after acquiring an H1B approval, must be directed to your employer. You have now completed Section 5 of the University of Michigan International Center OPT Online Certification course. In this section, you should have learned what options you have after your first 12 months of OPT expires, what a 17-month STEM extension is, and who's eligible, as well as what a cap gap extension is, and who is eligible for a cap gap. For additional information about STEM extensions and cap gap extensions, please refer to the International Center's online course for OPT extensions. If you are unsure about any of the information you learned in this section, please review it again. Once you are comfortable with this information, please answer the questions at the end of this section. Once you have answered all of the questions correctly, you will be prompted to move on to Section 6.